Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Financial Aid, the Basics and Beyond webinar for 2018. We're so excited that you all were able to join us today. My name is Wendy Hicks, and I'm here with some of my colleagues and two of our current students, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
I guess I'll start. My name is Prudence Goss, and I'm Assistant Dean for Admissions and Student Services here at Rollins.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Cindy Gershman. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid at Emory for grad professional programs.
Hey all, my name is Carter McCormick. I'm a second-year Master's of Public Health candidate in the Hubert Department of Global Health.
Hi everyone, my name is also Cindy. I'm also a second-year Master of Public Health candidate, and I'm in the Department of Behavioral Science and Health Education.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we start, the agenda for today is we're going to go over a few of the financial aid terms so you can get a better understanding of what we're talking about, the eligibility for applying for financial aid, the process for applying for financial aid, as well as different types of financial aid that will be available to you and are available to you. We will also discuss like a general cost of living, and then we'll review the contacts and resources that you can follow up with after this presentation, and we'll also open up at the very end for questions. So as we move along, make sure you have your questions in mind for us. Okay. All right, so our first topic is the Guide to Financial Aid and their terms, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cindy.
Welcome again, everybody, and thanks for joining us. As you can see on your screen, there are several different vehicles for funding your education. There are federally funded aid programs through the Department of Education, the Stafford Loan Program, and the Grad Plus Loan. Then most of the major banks and maybe some credit unions as well do what we call private loans. So those are privately funded. They have nothing to do with the Department of Education. And then there's also institutional scholarships that are funded by the school. So we'll go into more basics of those scholarships and how you apply once we get more into the presentation. So now eligibility. So, as I said before, there are federal programs. You must be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident of the United States in order to qualify for these programs. And the flip side, of course, is non-citizens are not eligible to receive federal financial aid. There's also institutional merit aid, and you can see some of the deadlines or the deadline that's there. It's for domestic and international students. And excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so if I cough or anything like that, I'm excusing myself now. So once again, we'll get into more of the institutional and merit aid once we get into the slides a little bit deeper. So the private funding opportunities, which I mentioned before, the privately funded or private loans, both international and domestic students do have ability to do private loans. So if you are an international student, though, most of the companies are going to require a U.S. cosigner. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about how to fund your education. As far as the international students, you can see that you have to be on the F1 visa and work for a maximum of 20 hours. And you can read about the Rollins Earn and Learn program that's there. And that will be discussed, I think, a little bit further in the presentation as well. Okay, so now the ABCs of eligibility. In order to qualify for federal loans, you need to fill out the Department of Education's application first, which is the FAFSA, the Federal Application for Federal Student Assistance. Another term that we use is COA, which is the cost of attendance, or sometimes we'll call it the budget. And then there's the EFC. The EFC is the estimated family contribution, and that number gets calculated by the Department of Education when you fill out your FAFSA. So this is based on demographics and some financial information that the FAFSA requires you to complete. and then they come up with a figure that they estimate you can contribute towards your education. So you can see on the screen that we award aid based on your federal, your financial need. So it's the cost of attendance, and then we deduct the expected family contribution, or the EFC, and that's how we come up with the eligibility you have for your federal aid. So here are some cost estimates, and these are current figures. So this will give you an estimate of approximately what your costs will be, but they do go up a little bit every year, but we just wanted to give you a ballpark figure. So you can see that there are mandatory university fees there. You can see what the tuition structure is based on which path you'll be taking in the School of Public Health. So there are different tuition structures based on that. We estimate living expenses. We get that information from the College Board, which some of you may be familiar with. So that's what they say it costs at the medium level, not the high, not the low, for living in the Atlanta area. Books and supplies comes directly from the school, and I'm sure when the students start speaking, they'll be able to elaborate on that a little bit. Health insurance, every student needs to have health insurance. So this is the cost, the current cost per term for the Emory plan. If you are still eligible to have health insurance on your parents' plan, you can opt out of this, but every student must have health insurance. Then, because the federal government takes out fees when you apply for their loans, we build that money back into your budget or your cost of attendance so you don't lose those funds. And then transportation, that's also, the current figure, and that's for parking on campus. Everybody who brings a car onto campus, whether they're staff or a student, pay for parking. We can go on. Okay, so how do I apply for financial aid? So we're going to go into those. Okay. Once again, you're going to see this pop up a lot, the FAFSA. So that's the website that you can go to complete your FAFSA. And make sure you're going to this website. If you do just .com, that's actually a business that will charge you, and nobody should be charging you to fill out your FAFSA. It's free. Okay? So if you're coming into school for the 18-19 academic year, you need to fill out the FAFSA for the 18-19 academic year. You will need to put Emory's school code on there, which is the number you see there, 001564, so that once you complete your application, the information will be sent to Emory. Make sure to include your social security number. You are encouraged to apply as soon as possible. As we get into the presentation, you'll see some of the scholarships that you might be eligible for are on a first-come, first-served basis. The FAFSA is already open for 18-19. Some of you may have already done that. It opened back in October. And then you need to reapply every year. So as of October 1st, every year, the FAFSA will be available for the next academic year. And you can see the link there for international students as well. Okay, so let's get into how the application process works. You complete the FAFSA. Once again, the sooner the better. Okay. We begin to award students in the beginning of March, as long as your application was into us, meaning the FAFSA application, by January or February. I guess I missed step number 2 there, the way there. Follow up with any necessary information. The federal government selects about 30% of the population of FAFSAs that are submitted for a process called verification. It's been very rare in recent years that graduate students actually get chosen, but there could be an instance where you do get chosen. So if you do, as I go through this little slide here, so the award notification begins the beginning of March. Okay, make sure all your contact information in OPUS is correct. The system that we work on is called OPUS, if you're not familiar with that. In your student center in OPUS, you'll always have a to-do list. So you'll have a to-do list for a lot of different areas, for admissions, for student financial services, and for student aid. So make sure you check to see if you have anything outstanding on that to-do list for financial aid, because we cannot award you unless you have a complete file. So once you do get the award notification, then you go back into OPUS, and there are 3 things that you can do with your awards. You can either accept, reduce, or decline the award. Okay, types of financial aid. Okay, so these are some of things that I kind of touched on briefly before. And you can see that Public Health, the School of Public Health, has put in some facts for you there to show you what the breakdown is of some of the aid that's offered. So once again, by filling out and completing the FAFSA, we will automatically award you the federal student unsubsidized loan. The Federal Grad Plus is also a federal loan, but that you must apply for directly with the federal government. And once again, once you're accepted and you get the award notification from us, a lot of this information will be on that award letter, as well as our website. So always view the website as well for additional information. If you're going the private educational loan route, once again, you have to apply directly with the lender that you're putting the application in. Once you get approved, they will send us a certification request, and we certify whether you're eligible for that loan or not. The other component are the merit scholarships, which once again we'll talk about once we get deeper into the presentation. And there are also some awards that the School of Public Health gives students if they're in the Peace Corps or the AmeriCorps. So make sure that you get that information to them if you have participated in one of those programs. The next thing on the list is the Rollins Earn and Learn, which we also call the REAL program. If any of you have done federal work study as an undergraduate, this is Rollins' program that kind of mirrors the federal work study program as well. So you get a job and you earn a paycheck for that. If that's part of your award, if you see that on your award, that money, once again, has to be earned. It's not given to you up front. So I just like to point that out because a lot of students, when they're trying to figure out their budget and what they need to borrow, they think that the $5,000 amount there is something that's just going to be given to them, but you need to earn it. Then there are need-based grants, and once again, that's one of the reasons we say apply early with your FAFSA. Unfortunately, we don't have many, and there isn't a large pool of money. So that's why first come, first serve was out there on the previous slides. And then you have the Rollins Pathway Award. Okay, here we go with more types of financial aid. So the first loan that I mentioned by filling out the FAFSA is the Federal Stafford Loan Unsubsidized. So for students in the School of Public Health who go full-time, which is 9 hours or more for both semesters, so that's fall and spring, your maximum eligibility in that particular loan is $33,000 per year. Okay. Right now, the interest rate for the current academic year is fixed at 6%. As I said before, when we were going over the cost of attendance, the Department of Education will deduct a loan fee. So currently it's 1.066%. And if you are not enrolled as a full-time student for both semesters, that eligibility of the maximum figure up there is going to be reduced. So if you're not full-time, the actual maximum for this particular loan program is $20,500. The Federal Grad Plus loan, once again, through the federal government, it is a credit-based loan, but it's very loose credit criteria. Basically, they want to know you have not declared bankruptcy, you have not defaulted on a student loan prior to applying for this academic year, and that you don't have any derogatory credit going back 90 days from the day that you apply. So right now, the current interest rate is 7%. And the way that we figure out, or you can figure out how much money you're eligible, because this particular loan does not have those maximums like I spoke about on the unsubsidized loan. So the maximum eligibility is the cost of attendance, less any other aid you're getting, and whatever that remaining figure is, that would be the maximum you can apply for the federal Grad Plus loan. Once again, there are loan fees, so that currently is 4.264%. Now, the private educational loans, once again, you have to select the lender that you want to go with. It's a full credit review, so it's FICO score and your credit history. Terms vary from lender to lender, so I can't quote you interest rates or anything in particular in reference to repayment terms, because I can quote you or tell you what something is today and it can change tomorrow. So those are the questions if you are going through the private loan process to ask. What's the interest rate? Is it fixed? Is it variable? And also ask what their repayment terms, because there are some private loan companies or banks that require you to even pay interest while you're still in school. So make sure you ask those pertinent questions.
Okay, and so I get to discuss some of the more exciting for you all types of aid, which are our merit scholarships that are offered here at Rollins School of Public Health. And please note that these are not reviewed or determined by the Office of Financial Aid. They are actually reviewed and selected by the academic departments. So if any of you actually completed your admissions application by January 5th priority deadline, then you'll be automatically considered. There's no additional application. You're automatically considered based off your application. The awards are competitive, so while these are really exciting and big awards, they are competitive. So only about 40 are offered in total, and finalists will probably be notified at the end of this month or maybe the beginning of March. Students who have, as a note, students who have been awarded merit scholarships could be repackaged for their aid due to alteration in need. And if anybody after this, it will be recorded and posted on our YouTube page, so you can visit this website and look at the various merit scholarships that we do offer. Okay, so for those of you who have already provided service by participating with the Peace Corps or AmeriCorps. We also have financial aid opportunities for you as well. You will have to have completed full-time service so that you can be awarded. For Peace Corps, you get about $15,000, and that's for the entire year.
That's over the course of the entire program.
The entire program, yeah.
So if you are a 3-semester or 4-semester MPH or MSPH student, then we adjust the aid accordingly. But that's over the entire course of your program. So that would be, that would be the total amount that you would be eligible to receive if you participated in Peace Corps. And although no additional application is required, we do ask that on the admissions application that you note your service.
Thank you, Prudence. That the same goes for AmeriCorps. The $6,000 is for the entire time of your program here.
And the AmeriCorps award too is a match, so you'll be getting $6,000 as well from AmeriCorps as a thank you for your service towards education, and then we match the other $6,000 through this AmeriCorps match award.
See, surprises all around. Awesome. These two awards are based on availability of funds, so you will want to have gotten your application in early and have indicated your service. But please note the recipients are notified with a financial award notice that will be in OPUS, the system we spoke about earlier. All right.
So the Rollins Earn and Learn program, or as we frequently call it at the school, the REAL program, is a type of financial aid that you do get through applying through FAFSA. It's not need-based. It's a first-come, first-served type of award. So again, I think the message you'll be getting out throughout this whole time is apply for FAFSA as early as possible, because there are some of these first-come, first-served types of awards. And so what the Rollins Earn and Learn program is it approves you for an opportunity to work in a job with an employer that is either based on campus or off campus in the Atlanta area. So we have research groups on campus that students have worked for, and then off campus we have students that work for CDC, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, large development organizations, or smaller nonprofits. So it's a very diverse grouping of opportunities. You get up to $10,000 over the 2 years, and as it was stated earlier, that is something you have to earn. It's not you're given this amount of money. You do have to work. It's at $12 per hour, so you do need to work up to that award. And it is capped per semester, so $10,000, $2,500 per semester. You have to work up to that $2,500 per semester, and then once that award is out for the semester, it's out. So the way that works is once you get the award and once you come to Rollins, you'll learn more information about how you apply for those jobs to our internal job board, and you are notified through Opus for it. It is noted that international students are eligible for the program in their second semester of the first year, and that executive MPH students are not eligible for participation in the program. Personally, I think this is one of the greatest financial aid components that we have at Rollins. Students get real life public health experience through this program. So while it is a way to also offset your costs, really the experience of interning while getting paid for it is an incredible opportunity that really goes beyond just the financial benefits of this award.
Yes, and we pride ourselves because, as Carter mentioned, you not only get to work, but you're actually working with agencies such as the CDC, the Carter Center, CARE. So students are actually out in the field getting opportunities. You're not just, working at a part-time job, but this is actually going to be teaching you the skills and a lot of the abilities that you will need once you move out into the workplace. As a note, we do let students know because people often ask if they can have Rollins and a non-Rollins job. You can, but the cap of how much you can earn is still capped for both. So if you do partake in or participate in non-Rollins or the non-real program, then you will have a cap on how much you can earn per semester for both jobs.
But only one Rollins Earn and Learn job per student.
Yes.
So you can have more than one job. Only one of them can be through the Rollins Earn and Learn program.
Yes, thank you.
I must say I've been doing these webinars for a few years, and Carter, that was probably the best description.
It was. He's really good.
Okay, so back to Cindy from financial aid here. So we spoke before about need-based grants, and I think you got the message, apply early. That's the key to a lot of the funding. So once again, it's based on the FAFSA. There are awards that range in the amount of $4,000 to $10,000, and you will be notified from a letter from admissions, as well as once you get your email award notification, it would be part of your financial aid award.
And so this is Prudence. I know we're kind of jumping from speaker to speaker, but it keeps you entertained. And so the Rollins Pathway Award is another type of award that we offer as well. It is need-based in part, but there's also a portion of it where we get input from the academic department about your merit. So it's a little bit of a hybrid type of award that's also available. You must complete the FAFSA. We have to know that you have some need. And it's going to be $10,000 over the course of 2 years or over the course of your program with us. So recipients are notified with not only a letter from the Office of Admissions about this award, but also a financial aid award notice in Opus.
Okay, so we just wanted to show you what a standard financial aid award would be. So once again, the unsubsidized Stafford loan through the federal government, as long as you're going full-time for both semesters, is $33,000. Then if you receive the real award, the Rollins Earn and Learn, that would be $10,000. So those basically would be the standard of 2 awards, less any merit aid you can get. So once again, this is only an example. Every student has different financial needs. Once again, as I said before, you need to apply every year for financial aid. Your package from one year to the next can vary. And if you defer your admissions, it could result in a change in an award that you were offered for the year we thought you were coming in for. So keep that in mind as well.
Right. And
This is just a website or a listing of websites of other external funding resources. I'm not going to take the time to read through all of them because they are displayed on your screen. I will just say the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, the ASPPH.org website, has a lot of really great information that is very specific to MPH programs, so I do encourage you to look there, as well as the Emory Alumni Board Leadership Scholarship. We do have some Rollins students that were recently awarded that award, so I also encourage people to look in that because that is an Emory-specific award. So I do encourage those two websites to highlight them, but all of these websites are great additional resources.
And I'll just add to what Carter is saying as well and kind of emphasize that as you're kind of approaching graduate school and specifically looking at Rollins, approach this as a partnership, right? So it's up to us to provide funding, and we've talked about the ways that that happens, but it's also up to you to take action as well and ensure that you have all of the resources that you need to pursue these opportunities here. So it's very important that if you have not already, that you start seeking external funding resources, especially if reducing your loan debt is extremely important to you. So these applications are available now. And as Carter mentioned, the ASPPH as well as the Emory Alumni Board leadership scholarships are two in particular where our students have had success obtaining external funding resources, and so we definitely recommend those, but please make sure that you're starting that very early. You don't want to be at the point where April 16th, when we have our deposit deadline, that you're still trying to figure out what to do for the next 2 years. That's a little bit late to then decide, whether or not you have the resources to be able to do this. So I applaud each and every one of you who's on this webinar right now, because that's a very proactive step towards ensuring that you have everything that you need in order to pursue this.
Okay, so this is the other Cindy. We're moving on to the cost of living now, which is the fun part. Okay, so for many students, there's a different range of cost of living options in the city. So we've broken it down into sort of low, mid, and high range estimated living expense ranges. So as I think it was the other Cindy that mentioned earlier, Atlanta is one of the more affordable places to live in terms of the top 10 MPH programs. I can attest to that because I have found really great places to live for very cheap. So over here we've broken down the most important topics based on the different costs of living. So we have rent. Atlanta offers a lot of different living options, from apartments or condos or houses you can rent out. Unfortunately, there is no on-campus housing for graduates, so by default, you are going to live off-campus. Health insurance, since all students are required to have health insurance, whether it be through Emory or let's say your parents' insurance company, that's also something we take into account for living expenses. Food, that also depends on your own dietary needs, whether you like to stock up on certain food items or not, that will all depend on you. Transportation, this depends if you have a car or not, or if you choose to take public transit here in Atlanta, which is called MARTA. We do offer free Emory shuttles that run along many apartment complexes near Emory, so that is definitely a convenient option. We also take books into account or other supplies. Luckily, as a student myself, I can safely say I haven't spent too much money on books. Sometimes professors might say, yeah, you need this book, but it's not required, so that saves you a lot of money on supplies. Loan fees, as Cindy mentioned earlier, that's also taken into account when you pay the loan fees when you're applying for the loans, not applying for the loans, but for basically trying to, I'm not sure how to,
yeah.
So what was that?
Borrowing a loan.
Yeah, borrowing a loan. And lastly, miscellaneous, this accounts for like entertainment or if you want to travel around. So those are just some other things that you want to take into account.
And also one of the things is, even though we don't have on-campus housing, the website that you see, the off-campus housing finder, I like to say it's like online dating, but for housing. I'm just kidding. Essentially, what we have here, all applicants are vetted, so you know that you're working with people who have been checked out, and they're all students throughout the university. So everybody posts on there. It could be anything from I'm messy and I'm a late night person. So if you're a morning person, you're clean, you might not want to select that person. So that's a really great resource we do point our students to, because while it is off-campus housing, they let you know where they're staying. You can see if it's a house that's being rooms are rented out, or if it's an apartment complex, and really get a feel for the person and where they are within the university, so that you can find housing. So that is something that assists you with finding housing once you're admitted as a student.
Something else to add on to that, we have a Facebook group for Rollins students who, once they're admitted, they can also find roommates or housemates that way. You just post your budget, how many people you're trying to live with, like your living situation or how you like to live. So that's definitely another great avenue for finding people to live with during the academic term. Okay, so this is a breakdown of budgets that we've provided for you. As you can tell, it really varies depending on where you live and what kind of environment you're situated in. So the first example is someone that's paying a little more in rent. This might be, let's say, like a one-bedroom apartment or like a two-bedroom apartment, like that's split like among each person. Sometimes utilities can be included in rent. Oftentimes it's not really. I personally have it additional to my rent costs, and that really depends on your apartment's landlord policies. Power is something I think by default, we always go through Georgia Power, so that's something you have to pay separately, including on top of your rent and utilities. Internet and cable, in this case, yeah, it's included, but it's not always included. I have found some apartment complexes that do include it as part of your total living expenses, but then again, it always varies. Groceries, here you can see this person spends about $200 to $250 per month. And again, that all depends on what you like to eat and your dietary needs as well. Gas, so depending on if you live close to Emory, like I mentioned before, you can take the free Emory Cliff shuttles. They run really early in the morning from about 6 a.m. and they run pretty late at night up until like 11:30 p.m. or 12 a.m. This, you can see this person doesn't have a car and opts to ride their bike instead too, which is completely an option. Miscellaneous, you can see this person spends about $100. Maybe if they wanted to go to Disney World or something and they split it with like a few friends or whatever. Total, so you can see this is like a middle range. This person spends like $12.64 at most. And we can see in the second example, it's completely possible to spend less than that per month. So we can go into that now. So yeah, this person has like a low rent option. I can say from personal experience, this is completely possible. It's possible to pay even less than that depending on how many people you live with. And again, that all depends on your personal preference. Like I personally live with 3 other people, bringing that to 4 total. So if you're willing to split a room with someone or even like live in your living room, like as long as that drives down costs, that's completely up to you. You can see this person has like $25 in utilities, which is like average, I would say. Power, same thing. Internet cable, depending on which internet company you go into also, it can range about like 15 to 20 per person. You just want to make sure you do research. And a lot of the times when you sign up for a new internet company, they offer a lot of great discounts, so always hop on those too. And yeah, this person spends a little more than person went on groceries. And also gas. I do have to say Atlanta has one of the more cheaper gas options I've seen everywhere compared to everywhere else in the country. And especially if you don't drive to campus all the time, I think it's completely possible to go around the city like by filling up your tank like once or at most like half or 2 times a month. And miscellaneous, this person might, choose to be a little bit frugal or spend a lot. So this, you can see here the total is a little less than person 1. So honestly, it's really up to you. It's up to you like how you tailor your expenses. I highly suggest making an Excel spreadsheet, especially when you are finding a place to live in. So that really helps you determine how much do I spend on what, and like where can I drive down costs so I can save money for other more important things.
Hey.
Okay.
Right, so now we're just going to move into like our general contact information and additional resources. So if you have any additional questions or you need additional advising for financial aid, please reach out to our main financial aid office. And so again, we have Miss Cindy here with us, who's the Associate Director. We also have Jennifer Lyles, Stacy Collier, Kimberly Did. And so you can see their office hours, when the advisors' hours are, as well as what their location is. Sorry, y'all. Words are hard. So if you do have any questions, please reach out to them, because while we do have we serve as liaisons in the Rollins Office of Admission, the main office is going to be a great resource because they literally handle everything for the university.
Can I just jump in for a minute? This is Cindy from Financial Aid again. So you can see the advisors. It goes by the first letter of your last name. So that would be the advisor that you would contact. Obviously, at certain times, what we call like our peak period, which is starting probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. It might take us 28 to 48 hours to get back to, but we will get back to you. And I think it's very important for you to contact us during the process that you're determining which school you're going to go to once you do get accepted, and not wait until July or August to ask some of the important questions.
All right, and so before we jump into questions, we do have some awesome additional webinars coming up this month. We have the You've Applied, Now What? So for some of you who have not received a decision yet, this might be a great webinar for you. We also have a great, for those, if anybody's in DC, we'll be up there hosting alumni and prospective students and admitted students up in Washington, DC on the 15th. Then we have a series of webinars for our department. So this gives you a chance to dive deep and hear more about the departments from actual academic advisors and their managers, as well as students who are currently in those departments. And of course, the very famous Visit Emory is coming up. We're really excited about that. That'll be taking place on Thursday, March 22nd, and Friday, March 23rd. So if you are admitted, this is an admitted students only event. Know that Monday, the 12th at 10 a.m. we'll be opening registration. So we look forward to receiving your registration. And so now we will move forward into questions. And just as a note, this is our contact information here in the Office of Admissions and Student Services. So please feel free to take down this information and contact us if you have any additional questions. So if you want to go ahead and start typing out your questions, we will try to answer them in the order in which they were received. Or they are received, sorry. All right, let's see. Give me 1 second. You've all been working really hard already asking questions. Okay. Will this webinar be recorded and able to watch? Yes. So after this, you can visit our Rollins YouTube page, and you will be able to view this webinar after it is completed. And so somebody couldn't see us yet. This is just the webinar. So we apologize if you can't see us, but you are able to type your questions. Let's see. So somebody is wondering if they could start exploring our full scholarships now. You've researched the following and need more light on them. So the King Abdullah Scholarship for Emory, the International Fellowships to honor Dr. William, I don't want to pronounce his name incorrectly, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah, all of what you're mentioning in terms of full scholarship support, you will need to explore that with those different organizations. For the Gates Millennium Scholarship, that's awarded to individuals as they move from high school into college, and then it carries on forth through graduate school for certain programs. And so the advisement on that is just going to be to follow up there. What we can do and help to clarify is any questions students have about our institutional merit scholarship process and timelines for that. But for those other ones, you are good to continue to explore those opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Great.
Mhm.
Mr. Jack, you were at the career fair and visited the RSPH booth. Is it possible to get I'm assuming that's a handout sent to you? We actually have an online version of our view book, which is comprehensive. It has all of the information for all of our departments in additional to admissions information. So if you will send us an email at spgadmissions@emory.edu and request for that link to be sent to you, we can definitely provide you with the view book, which has all of the promotional information about Rollins. So hopefully that'll be helpful. Is this current grad?
Is this current for graduate school? Yes. So this information that we're presenting to you is just for the master level programs here at Rollins. Another person wants to know if we have a 3-year MPH. We do not. So it's we set students up to complete in 2 years or 4 semesters. We do have some 3-semester options. So that may also be available through certain programs. In terms of health insurance options for families, I would recommend contacting Student Health for information about that. And for students who are wondering about if you are on your parents' health insurance and can stay on there, if it's a comparable health insurance plan as to what Emory offers, you can waive Emory's health insurance. More information about that will be coming as you're an admitted student, or if you're an admitted student, so that you can explore those possibilities. That can also help to cut down on your overall cost as well. Someone else asked if those figures for like the living expenses were per semester. Can you go back to that? I can't remember what we have up there displayed. I think that they were for the academic year.
If it was the living expenses on the cost of attendance, that $9,000 figure, it was for the 2 terms, fall and spring. One thing I also want to mention about the cost of attendance, especially with people asking about health insurance, and if you decide to opt out of the program, if you have the comparable insurance, that figure still stays in your budget. We're not going to take that away from you. So those are some other options where if you do have coverage outside of the university that's comparable, then you have a little more availability to borrow if you need to.
Right, so that was what the chart that Cindy is referring to there.
Go ahead.
Very good question that someone is asking about including parental information on the FAFSA. So now that you're applying to graduate school, you do not need your parents' information for the FAFSA. It's not going to be considered in terms of your need eligibility. That's different than what your parents may do in terms of claiming you on their taxes. So they're 2 totally different things. People oftentimes will get very confused or thrown off because they don't need their parents' information, but for federal financial aid purposes, you are considered to be independent.
Correct.
Okay. As far as the service, that's not per year that you've worked. It's for your entire term here at Rollins. So somebody was inquiring about the AmeriCorps and Peace Corps service awards, and so it's not based off the number of years that you have done service. It's, again, your entire time here at Rollins.
Right. And I do want to clarify with that because sometimes people may have completed a partial service through AmeriCorps or Peace Corps, and it is full-time completion of service. So please check the number of hours, a minimum amount of hours that you're required in order to be eligible for these awards. You can find that on our website. Which types of scholarships or awards can be combined? So that's a very good question, and we should have also clarified that as well. So with all of these scholarships and need-based awards, they are not cumulative for the most part. So what I mean by that is if you are someone who's participated in Peace Corps and you are also nominated for a merit-based scholarship, you will get the scholarship or award that's of the higher amount. And so that just helps to ensure that that we can spread out our funds and that you are given the highest amount of an award. So it would be one or the other. With some of our awards, though, they do come with combined packages. So, for example, if you're awarded a full tuition merit-based scholarship, you could also be with that awarded the Rollins Earn and Learn Award, as well as a stipend, a practicum award. So there are packages of awards that are certainly made, but if you qualify for one of the mission-driven aid awards and something else, then we will make sure that you get the award that is of the higher amount.
Okay, I see one question there about international students filling out the FAFSA. You will not be eligible for anything through the federal government, so there's no need to fill out the FAFSA. And was pointed out before, you might be eligible to get the real award in your second year. So, but that doesn't depend on the FAFSA for that particular population.
There is a separate application for that. So while the others were like such as merit-based awards, we were saying you don't have to apply for that. You will have to apply separately for the Rollins Earn and Learn program.
Mm-hmm. And then someone else was asking for clarification about AmeriCorps Service on their resume. If you have any questions about whether or not your service for any of these programs is accurately reflected in your application, please just simply email us at sphadmissions at emory.edu, and we can certainly make sure that our records reflect your participation.
And someone did ask for clarification regarding when you can actually apply. These jobs are only available to our admitted students once you've actually admitted, deposited.
You're talking about Rollins Earn and Learn.
Yes, yes. So, and there is, just in general, our students use something called Handshake so that they can apply for jobs. So there is a mechanism for you to do so, but that's once you are a current student.
Something I have to add on to that. So once you're an admitted student, this becomes available to you in the beginning of August usually. Career Services is very on top of finding employment opportunities before the school semester starts. So you can start applying as early as like August 1st before the academic term starts.
Okay, we have a few questions here, and I'm trying to figure out which one we should tackle first because some of them are a little bit different, and so I want to try to group some of them together. Someone's asking about clarification on the cap per semester as it relates to the Rollins Earn and Learn job. So you can, like I said, you can have, like Wendy was saying actually, you can have two jobs. One of them can be real, one of them has to be non-real. Overall, any student cannot work more than a combined total hour amount of, I think it's 20 hours overall. That's just kind of the rule and regulation for that. So you can have two jobs, but one of them can be real and one of them can be non-real. Now, if you're doing something outside of Emory as a whole, if you're working retail, we don't have any, we don't have any authority over, saying that you have to, limit your hours once you're outside of the Emory system. So for the merit-based scholarship deadlines, January 5th, so anybody that's completed and verified within SOFIS by January 5th will be considered for any kind of merit-based award. And it's fine that you didn't get notification from us until after the 5th about the fact that your application had been received. We go by the date that you submitted in SOFIS. If we address that real question, we considering deferring my entry date for next year. Would it be possible to keep the awards I've got this year? No. Well, let me add some context to that. So when a student defers, which is fine, we understand that could happen. If you are awarded a merit-based scholarship or any other type of award, it is not guaranteed. And in fact, you have to recompete for that in the cycle that you do intend to enroll with us. This is particularly important for people who are awarded merit-based scholarships. It's very unusual that the department will hold those awards from year to year, and so you want to make sure that you're applying for the term in which you choose to enroll, because it does have an impact on your aid. You also still have to follow the same guidelines in terms of applying for financial aid early. Just because you've deferred doesn't mean that we hold back your place from the previous year in terms of your the date recorded that you've applied. So please make sure that you're still following the same timelines that we've outlined here today for you, so that you can, again, maximize your opportunity for funding. Someone else is asking if there are any opportunities for graduate research assistantships at Rollins. So there are opportunities for graduate research opportunities, but the assistantship piece, and I just want to kind of go back to what Cindy was saying a little bit earlier, in that the Rollins Earn and Learn Award is our practical experience award program, and that opens up opportunities for students to do all sorts of things, including research, including working at CDC, etc. But it is not a stipend, and so it is not that you're missing out on something, or there's some portion of money just kind of floating out there. It's just really representative of the amount that you're able to earn, which is a little bit different than how some assistantship programs can run. But if Cindy or Carter want to kind of fill in any other information about opportunities that are available, that would be great.
Yeah, so this is Carter. There are opportunities, let's say you do not get the real award, there still are opportunities to have jobs and internships that will pay you either with organizations that do hire real students or with research groups on campus. It's just that the real award system is it's an opportunity to apply for specific jobs that are earmarked for real students. So you still have those opportunities where you could still contact a company or a research group that had a real posting and say, hey, I don't have the real award. Would there be another opportunity for me? So we do have students that will find jobs those ways as well. So there's still, just if you don't get the real award, it's not that there's no way for you to get this application public health experience. There's still plenty of opportunities to do so.
And it was noted that people didn't know how to navigate to the YouTube page. If you will return back to the campus visit page where you registered for this webinar, where it was listed, above that, the YouTube link to our Rollins YouTube account is posted. And so you can just click on that link and it'll take you there. Please give us about 5 to 7 business days to get the webinar up. It should be sooner than that. But I just wanted to let you know that we will get it posted for you all.
And we always send out an email message to everyone who's participated in the webinar with the recording and a thank you for attending. And so we are going to follow up directly with you anyway. So you can either do what Wendy has advised and check that, or just look out in an email for some additional information from us.
Yes, we can show you the speaker's information again.
And someone else, while Wendy is pulling that up, is asking if tuition can be paid on a monthly plan. The Office of Student Financial Services, which is different than the Office of Financial Aid, they have very similar names, but two very different functions. Financial aid gives you the money, and Student Financial Services takes it. So that's kind of the best way to distinguish those two offices. But the Office of Student Financial Services does have what we call an Emory payment plan option that you can explore. And so you would just need to visit their website, or once you receive your bill from the university, you can follow up accordingly.
And this is Cindy from Financial Aid, and I can give you some information about the payment plan, even though it's not done through my office. It's 4 consecutive payments that need to be made. So the first payment would start in August, and then you'd have September, October, November. So whatever the balance is on your student account, that figure is divided by 4, and that's what you would have to pay for those 4 consecutive months.
Hi all, this is Carter. I unfortunately have to run to class real quick, but I did just want to add before I head out, I know there's a lot of information that was thrown at you, and speaking more so to like the rent and like living in Atlanta piece, once you are an admitted student, and also before if you're an admitted student, current students are more than happy to help navigate that process because we very much so remember what that was like to be new to the program and trying to figure out where to live, where's like the cheapest place to buy food and stuff like that. So if you do have questions about that, I co-run the Rollins Ambassador Program. And so you can email the admissions office and just ask to speak with one of our ambassadors about that. And we'd be happy to connect you with a student that would be able to discuss with you, different apartments that commonly students live in and what our perspectives are on that. We will not answer specific financial aid questions, so please do not ask us those questions because we are not qualified to answer those questions. But if you have questions about like living in Atlanta and like the cost of living in Atlanta or our experiences associated with the REAL program, we would be more than happy to do so.
Thank you for saying that, Carter, because I chuckle every time a student comes in and says, well, my friend said, or my friend is getting.
Yes.
I'm like,
Do not ask us financial
yeah.
Your financial aid award is almost as individual to you as your DNA. So
Almost.
So someone else was asking, they're a return Peace Corps volunteer, and they are asking about the timeline for notification of whether they've been selected as a Coverdell Fellow. That particular fellowship program follows the same timeline as our merit-based scholarships. You are a merit scholar if you are considered or if you are awarded the Coverdell. And so with that in mind, you will be notified by the end of this month if you've been selected for that particular fellowship.
I think there's one question about tuition. There's only one tuition rate. There are no in-state or out-of-state rates. It's just one basic rate for everybody depending upon the program you're in.
Right. Since the one question is, since the Rollins Earn and Learn is for 2 years, is it possible to get it for, is it possible to get other funding in your second year at Rollins? So what we do in terms of awarding any type of aid, usually most of our aid, any type of institutional or merit-based scholarship carries through with you for all semesters that you're enrolled. There are a few where we have scholarship, or I would call them need-based grants rather, that are just for your first year. But most of them are for both or the full term of your program. So with that in mind, you can really kind of start your planning in year one, because that is really kind of going to be reflective of what you're going to get for both years. We do not have very many opportunities specifically for second years. And so that's why I'm saying that it's very important that once you do have your financial aid award notice for your first year, that you think about second year as well during that time and not when you're approaching your second year. And so the Emory Alumni Board Scholarship is a really amazing opportunity. This year, last year, there were a total of 4 recipients. Half of those recipients were actually Rollins students, so it's a very good opportunity for people to explore. But there are, very few opportunities within the second year. So I just want people to kind of come with the mindset that you will need to plan for both years in your first year. And continue the external scholarship search as well. That's really going to be very beneficial to you. Most of those scholarships kind of open up sometime in October or November. Deadlines are usually around now, so that they can award you for the fall. And there are just so many funds that are out there. It does take a lot of extra time, and I realize that. And it kind of can feel like things are going into a black hole. But if you're persistent and you're trying, I think that you could, be pleasantly surprised about what kind of opportunities come up. And we are now over time. And so we just all really want to thank you so very much for holding your attention today, for listening to a little bit more about what we have to offer here at Rollins. We want this conversation to continue. And so even though we're signing off, do not hesitate to email us, to call us if you have any additional questions lingering. We are here to support you and help you to understand all of your options so that you make well-informed decisions, although we hope that you make a decision to come to Rollins. And so thank you again so very much. SPH admissions at Emory.edu is the best way to just kind of be in touch with all of us, and we can then move forward and make sure that your email gets into the appropriate hands. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.